Hello everybody, hello, I'm Dan, your friendly fishmonger at dansfish.com. We do this every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, that's 9 Eastern for those who might be mountain challenged. Thanks for coming by and spending a little bit of your Wednesday evening with us, especially David. What was your last name? I saw in the chat here. David O, 44th anniversary. Congratulations. That's amazing. Congrats to you and your lady. All right, we're going to start off with our shipping report as per usual, and then we'll talk about our giveaway. It's a pretty interesting giveaway, so I'm going to go off on that for just a little bit, and then we'll get to your questions and comments. It might be a little bit noisy. We received a few fish today, and Johnny and Dylan are still unboxing them, so pardon any yelling across in communication. It's a working fish warehouse that we're streaming from, so there's noise in the background, but we're going to get right to it. So, starting off, shipping report. Not perfect, but pretty good. Last time I reported to you, our percentage was 98.44%. Now it is 98.50% for the last 12 months. So doing well. Things are going pretty well. We're at 98.5 again. We got there one other time a few weeks ago, and then had a few, what was there, a delay and a few losses, something like that. I can't remember, but we dropped down again. So it's nice to get back to 98.50 on our quest for 99%. And that's the last year, the last 12 months running total. If we look at the last 6 months, we're at 99.09%. So last 6 months, we're at our goal. Last year, not quite, just because there was a disastrous shipment back in, I think it was February, if I remember right, when the Chinese spy balloon grounded air traffic, and our shipments got grounded in negative 25-degree weather on a tarmac for 24 hours. So that was rough. We haven't quite etched our way back up to 99% from that event. But if you look at the 6 months, we're right where we want to be, 99.09. So thanks to all our customers for ordering from us. If you're one of the customers that had a problem, I'm sorry. We do our best. I guess it's inevitable that occasionally there will be a problem, but rest assured, when there is a problem, Johnny, our customer service champion, will take care of you. He's very good at what he does and treats our folks right. So cheers, Johnny. Okay, with that, let's start talking about the giveaway. And by the way, I hope things look okay and sound okay. I played with settings just a little bit before we went live, and I don't like it. You can see, like, I don't know, on my screen, it looks like this black shirt is like this blue velvet, especially over here. And what it is I'm trying to play with the green kind of spill that comes over from our green screen. Now that we have a green screen, like, it turns me kind of green. And so I've been playing with saturation and with correcting the overspill of the green. And I just haven't quite got the balance right. In fact, I don't know if I can. I think what I'm going to need to do is get some fill lights, some color fill lights to light the place a little differently to cancel out that green coming from the green screen behind me. So I think it's just not going to be quite perfect till we get the lighting adjusted. I think that's what's going on here. Alrighty. But hopefully sounds and looks good to me. Okay, hopefully if everyone can see me and hear me, then we're good. We'll get to perfection later. For now, let's settle with, like, at least it's functional. We'll start from there and continue on. All right, let's talk about the giveaway. So the giveaway is for a fish which I think a group of fish is amazing. They're gobies, and they're from the Lentipes genus, or maybe the Cichliopus genus. So they're very similar sometimes. Sometimes I find it a little bit difficult to tell them apart. The Lentipes have a dot in the dorsal fin that the Cichliopus don't have, but it's not always really clear in the Lentipes. So let me show you these fish though. So here is one of the most beautiful ones, I think, Lentipes multiradiatus. Here's some drawings of different Lentipes and how they color up. The multiradiatus, if you look at some of these pictures, which are much better than mine, are a really, really pretty fish. Now, that being said, I think this is their spawning color. I've seen them get quite pretty, but I haven't seen them get quite, excuse me, quite that pretty before. Need to wet my whistle. And here is that dorsal spot that, as far as I know, separates Lentipes from Sicyopus in identification. I don't know if it's 100%, but it's a pretty good indicator. So it's a really neat group of fish. Look at this one. Now this has got to be a fired up breeding male. I've seen them get close. This is a picture we took of one of ours, and it was starting to fire up. It was starting to get good color. And it was a really pretty fish, but I never caught a picture of it when it was fully flared up. So I can't share that with you. But interesting group of gobies. Another neat one from this genus. I'm just going to show you the different ones that I have experience with so you get a sense of what they look like. And then I'll talk to you about their kind of natural habitat, where they come from, and their care. So this one is Kae, I think is how you say it. They've come from New Caledonia. They're very expensive because there's no like fish industry in New Caledonia, so it's very hard to get them. But if you look at them, ours are just starting to get this red band around here, which is very pronounced, it looks like, when they're spawning. But you can see the beginnings of it in the ones that we had. I never saw them get quite this pretty. But looking at this and looking at this, I can see where the red would come in on the nose and on here once they were fired up in spawning condition. But that seems to be, with Lentipes, the main thing. This is Venustus. Here's another picture of one we had. And another picture. Excuse me. That's going to happen off and on tonight. Sorry, guys. I'm recovering from a bit of a cold. But that seems to be the general pattern with them. These really nice red bands and blues that come in. This is Mekongensis. Here's my picture. Again, you can see it starting to come in, but it's not nearly as pretty as some of these other pictures of ones that are more fired up. There's a male and here's a female. Very distinct. Whitnorum. This is ours. I don't know if I ever saw these guys color up fully, but I can see where the red band would come in right here. But I don't think, it's been a little while since I had this one. I can't remember exactly what it looked like when it was fired up. Then this is the one we have available most often. This is Ike, or IKEA A, as most people like to say it. Pretty little Lentipes. The reason this is the one that is usually available is simply because it comes from Indonesia. So it comes from, it's close to a fish export hub. So it's easy to collect it and bring it in. Then a couple others. I haven't kept this one. This is concolor, but I wanted to show you how widely spread these fish are. So let's see, there it is. So you can see here this map of different islands that this fish is found on. Widespread apart. That's a little crazy. And then here's another one. Oh, I have a better picture. So this shows over here, you have Kae over here in Fiji. Then here you have Multiradiatus in a couple locations. You have the Venustus over here. Watsoni, which I never had Watsoni. Watsoni, I guess. And I don't, let's see, down here, New Caledonia, and then Salomonensis is, I believe, this one right here on the Solomon Islands. And there's more. But this gives you an idea of what they've done. They've basically been able to invade lots of freshwater habitats on lots of islands across the Pacific Ocean. Here's how they breed. This is a breeding pair of concolor. Typical Goby style, they're just breeding in a little cave. In this case, it looks like an upside down, like half flower pot or something like that. You see all these white eggs laid up on top, and you see this kind of dark fish with a bright orange, yellow, red band. Obviously, the camera work isn't great, so the real color isn't coming through, but it gives you a sense of how they spawn. And they're just like Sicyopus and some of the other ones in that they'll spawn in fresh water, they live in fresh water, but the babies, when they're freshly hatched, are swept out to the ocean, to estuaries, and they become part of the plankton cloud, if you will, and they eat all those little rich microorganisms out of the little planktonic soup that is out there. Then they drop out, and once they're about, I think I read in an article, 1/2 inch to 1 inch, they go back to the freshwater streams and make their way back up and live the rest of their lives in freshwater. So that is probably one explanation for why a fish like this is able to be so widespread. Like, that's crazy to me. The concolor was collected out there, over here, and over here, according to this map. Now, I haven't vetted this map like crazy. I don't know enough of about how to do that, but it's, you know, someone did the work to put that together. But if this is the same species here, here, and here, that is quite a feat. But even if not, they've still managed to spread out over a lot of territory. And this is a small sampling. If we went out into, you know, a wider, zoomed out, and you could see the Philippines, and you could see all these other island territories, habitats, I should say, then you would find different gobies of this nature out there. And I think part of why they've been so successful is because part of their life cycle is in salt water, and so they can spread around the ocean a little bit. And they find a freshwater stream, they swim up it after they develop in the ocean water, and that's probably how a lot of these species radiated out. And we have so many different ones. Now, this is just me making an educated guess, and I have read some papers on this, but no one knows the exact mechanism, but it's been very successful at spreading around. Okay, a couple others that I want to show you. One of the ones that we'll be giving away looks a lot like this here. Has kind of this this red on the back of it, if you see that here. But I can't be 100% sure what species it is. We have a few of these, and we'll send you a group of them. They might be a mix of species. They might be all one species. I'm not quite sure. And there could also be in there some of these. These are Sicyopus, very similar to Lentipes. And as you can see, this one right here, Rubicundus, looks very similar to this one right here with that red pattern down here. So I think what we have is probably Lentipes, but I don't want to say it's impossible that they could be Sicyopus. I'm not an expert, and that dorsal spot is not always clear. Sometimes it depends on mood and all that. So, but the good news is, no matter which of those, the care is the same. What I've found both of these to be is pretty much little carnivores. Stiphodons graze, like they'll go around and scrape biofilms and algae and things. And when I first got Lentipes and Sicyopus in, that's what I expected because that's what I read. But my experience keeping them did not jive with that. They did not appear to be grazing a lot on biofilm or algae. I found them to want to eat live and frozen foods. And I have occasionally gotten them to eat dry foods, but only occasionally, and it took a long time. What I found works best is baby brine shrimp, live bloodworms, frozen bloodworms, frozen brine shrimp, live scuds. White worms would be wonderful if you culture those. So if you want to get some of these in this giveaway, we're going to be giving away some of these in a little while. Just be aware that that's a need that they'll have. You're not going to be able to get them and just put in some flake food and be done. I've watched them for many hours now over the few years that I've been keeping them, and I've yet to see them graze at biofilm or algae. What they do is they scoot around and they have all the behavior of an active goby. This is both Lentipes and Sicyopus. But they just kind of perch there and wait, and when the prey comes in view, they swim over and grab it. It's a very different behavior than the Stiphodons, which you'll see actively grazing around all the time, a la, I don't know, like an Autosynclus almost in some ways. So just be aware of that. That's part of their care. Now in nature, these gobies are famous for their ability to like climb waterfalls. So when they're returning from the ocean and getting back to their freshwater habitats where they're going to spend the rest of their lives, they can use their mouths to cling on and their pelvic fins, which form a suction cup. You saw that on the thumbnail image, I think, for today's live stream, right? When you were on YouTube. So they'll grab on, move up their suction cup, grab on, move up their suction cup, and doing that, double suction cup action basically, they'll climb up the rocks on waterfalls. And they can climb out of your aquariums very easily too. So dry food's probably a no-go. You'll need frozen, and if you have some live, they'll appreciate that too, but frozen generally works. Live baby brine's awesome as well. And tight-fitting lid, because, I mean, they can literally climb up any damp surface. Now, if it's dry, they're not going to do okay on it. But if the surface is wet, they'll be fine. In fact, there's times when you'll see them kind of just perched half out of the water, just poking out of the water, clinging onto that dampness. They're perfectly comfortable like that. So that's the second main thing I would say for an aquarist who wants to keep them to be aware of. You need a tight-fitting lid. Now, in nature, they come from streams that have clear water, clean water, usually rocky bottoms, and a decent amount of flow. In the aquarium, I have found they don't have to have like a river manifold system or anything like that, but they do need clean water that's well oxygenated. This is not a fish for a brand new setup that's going to go through parameter shifts. This is not a fish for someone who doesn't spend some time keeping their tank clean. You don't want an inch of mulm on the bottom of their tank. And just keep that in mind. I'm not saying they're a delicate fish. They're not. They're tough as nails. But they come from, think of like you're up in the mountains and you're seeing this like pristine, shallow trout stream that you can like see through. It's so clear. There's no vegetation. It's just that rocky kind of trout stream bottom. That's kind of the vibe that you would get in nature from these habitats where these guys live. So a couple things to keep in mind, but again, I'm not saying they're delicate. I think they're hardy. I think they're a very hardy fish. But if you can provide those few things, they're amazing. They're goofy, they're clowns, they're like sociable almost. They interact with each other. They see you and they'll come up and like beg for food. They kind of get to know their owners. Gobies are little clowns, and they are a ton of fun. And yeah, I guess that's where I'll leave it. So if this is a fish that you think that you can provide a proper home for and that you're intrigued by, let's see here. What should I make the hashtag today? I'll just make it easy. Then type hashtag Goby in the chat, hashtag GOBY, no spaces, caps don't matter, and you will be entered to win a group of these. There might be one species, there might be multiple species, there might be Lentipes, there might be Sicyopus, there might be a mix. I'm not exactly positive what's in there, but they're cool little gobies for sure. And So fun to watch. All right. With that, okay, I see folks have entered. Awesome. Awesome. Looks like folks are hashtag Goby flood in the chat. What happens when, see this, these little hearts going up? Does that just mean there's been a lot of comments and YouTube is happy? What is that? I'm still catching up on the changes YouTube is making. Just, yeah, I mean, yay, hearts, but what's that mean? Does anybody know? Geek boy, that is darn annoying. What is that? Anyway, yeah, love you too, whatever that is. Okay. With that, I'm going to close all these multiple tabs that are open. Okay. And then I'm going to be a good boy and show you something that we do. So, we here at Dan's Fish, if you go to our web page, have a newsletter. If you want to join it, just put your email address in here at the bottom of our homepage, hit subscribe, and you'll be getting our newsletter. Lots of articles and things on how to take care of fish, and this one is great. I thought this one was awesome. That was an update on us building this facility and all that. But then Matthew wrote an excellent article, Matthew Proctor, on like breeding, his experience breeding some puffers. So that's pretty cool. This one, I'm really proud of this one. This was, okay, let's get past that. This was all about Amazon puffers. A deep dive into them, their natural history, different species that they've adapted from, where they're from, how to care for them, all that. So I would say rather informative articles, and those will appear here. Now, there's a couple we still need to get on there. We're a little bit behind, but they don't all appear here. Something else I do is I go around the warehouse every now and then and I look and I'm like, what looks especially good? What do I find myself like pausing at and just admiring as I walk around the warehouse? And then I'll release something like this week's fish picks. So since you can't be here in person, like if you were here, right, if this was not in the middle of Wyoming, you could get here easily, right? And you're walking around browsing in your typical fish store, you'll be walking around and suddenly a tank will just pop out. We've all had this experience, right? Where it's like, wow, those are so awesome. I've seen that fish 100 times, but I've never seen it look that good. Well, when that happens here, I want to share it. So that's what I do. So here's a list of the stuff that's looking awesome right now. First is the purple pencil fish. The picture gives you an idea. It doesn't quite do them justice, but they're doing fantastic. And this batch has been rock solid. They're eating everything. They'll eat flakes, they'll eat rapashi, they'll eat big pellets, they'll eat live and frozen. And they're very pretty, especially when they display with each other. So they're doing fantastic. I've mentioned these a couple times, but because they look great, but now they're breeding and they look even better because they're fired up and displaying all the time to the females, and the males are saying, hey, it's my turn to breed, you know, and they're displaying and all that. And these dragon blood peacocks are looking great. And by the way, we can offer pairs, so if you want to breed them, no problem, we can get you pairs. But the females are all holding, pretty much. And then these, the Vietnamese butterfly hillstream loaches, the reason I love these is, first of all, they're a little bit different flavor than the Soelia lineolata, right? It's a Soelia species as well, but it just looks a little different than the lineolata. The patterning on it is just, well, let me show you a few different views. See that? The patterning on it is just a little finer. It's a little lacier than... Did I spell that wrong? Than this one. So this is Swellia lineolata, the one that we all know and love. And the pattern is less lines and they're thicker versus, well, I can just go back to versus this one where it's finer. And then the other thing that I love about them is they're the most energetic feeders I've ever seen in a hill stream loach. See all the sand they're literally kicking up? They're all excited about these pellets that they're chewing on. And the big group of them come down. Oh, my hand disappeared. Whoop, yep, there's the end of the green screen right there. They all come down and they just attack those pellets and they flurry with their fins, their big old enlarged pectoral fins and such. And just the sand goes flying. And it's just super fun to watch them as they kind of scoot around, sand flying everywhere, trying to eat. The marble hatchet's not a really rare fish, but we've, I think, figured these out. We know the supplier to get them from. We know the treatment protocol to go through. The batch is fantastic. We might have lost one out of a couple hundred. They've been doing well for several weeks. Good weight on them, eating everything, hardy, and they're looking really good. So, and this is one that doesn't get huge. This is a good-sized fish. It's hard to find fish for the top level of your aquarium, but a big group of these together, I think, would fit the bill nicely. And then we talked about these last week, but this is our colony of the Starry Night Soloaceae shrimp is absolutely booming. And when we walk by the tank and the entire bottom is moving, it looks like a pattern of lace, like rippling in the wind. It's stunning. So that's the kind of thing that we're doing on the newsletter, besides just the informative articles. And those things, what looks good now, and hey, I'm coming to talk at this fish club and all that, that doesn't make it to the website. Because the things we're putting on the website are like evergreen content, informative articles about keeping and breeding, or just information about fish we're interested in, versus the ones that are kind of behind the scenes. So if you want to get that stuff, head over to the homepage here, scroll down to the bottom, email address here, hit subscribe, and you'll get that stuff as it comes out. I'm trying to put something out every week, and that's as long as I'm not traveling and things, I think that's doable. And there's plenty of content. Like every day I walk around this place and something blows my mind. So all I have to do is, jot that down a few times, and I've got a newsletter. So it's not something that's really difficult to do. So I think I can do that. Yeah. All right, that's what's going on in my neck of the woods. Let's get to what's going on with you guys. Before we do that, I want to thank my moderators for making this all possible. Thanks for being here. Thanks for working hard to mod the stream so that things stay within the parameters we want them to stay in the chat. Chat can get wild. We all know this. So I appreciate the moderators making sure that things stay how we want them here. We do want kids that are interested in fish to be able to come in and participate in this community. I think young fish keepers, I mean, how redundant is it to say the young fish keepers are the future of this hobby and industry? Like, duh. But yeah, so I want to include them. So we do ask that we keep it friendly for young folks who might want to come in and participate. And the mods help us with that. Okay, questions and comments. The first one I see is Tracy S., who says, do you think they would do well in planted tanks? The Lentipes, yeah, as long as it's well oxygenated, sure. Especially if there's a lot of broadleaf plants, they'll enjoy perching on them. We've kept ours with some plants. It's not a problem. Yeah. And in fact, they'll do fine with just like a vigorously bubbling sponge filter in one corner. They don't have to have like that really high flow. There are some fish that you'll see really want that high flow, because if you have like a spot in your tank with a lot of current, like a sponge filter or a power head or something, and the current's kind of contained over there, they will literally go there and seek it out. You see this a lot with hill stream loaches. And then there's other fish that you put current on one part of the tank and they could care less. They might be there, they might not. And this is in that category. Like clean, well oxygenated, but I'm not going to say they have to have super rapid current or anything like that. So a planted tank, I think yes. Whitney Kelly says, no, we're heating the video. Whitney, I can't remember what that is in response to. Maybe the hearts? Coro works. That's a setting we would like you to turn off. It blocks the chat and makes it harder to read. The hearts? Does it come up on you guys too? And how do I change it? I'll have to look into that. I don't know that much about it. Okay. Joseph says nothing other to say than, Dan, you are awesome. You're a godsend for the rest of us, keeping fish alive, healthy, and just plain fun to be keepers of. It's like the nicest comment ever. I don't even know how to respond. I'm going to like blush. Thanks, Joseph. And the team works super hard to make the fish healthy. They really, really do. So any of the team that's watching, good on you. You've made Joseph Noel happy. Fishtory. Okay, hey, Alex. It's a button off hearts, like a thumbs up for mobile chat. Kind of dumb. Oh. Button for hearts. See that down later. Okay. So if you hit the thumbs up, or if you like the video, a heart comes up. Is that what happens? You think I'd know more about the platform I use, but I don't. I'm busy taking care of fish. YouTube's newest thing. You can click on the heart and send hearts and a few other things into chat. Oh, okay. All right. I don't know if I hate it, but who doesn't love having love thrown at them? But it's just like, I missed the announcement from YouTube because I'm like, why is it happening? Mitchell Broom. Hey, Mitchell, I hope you're doing well. Oliver Lucanus from the Below Waters YouTube channel. He's awesome. Has a great video from a few months ago on gobies in nature that show a lot of goby habitat in the wild. Yeah, Below Waters stuff is great. Oliver's fantastic. So please check that out, everyone's. Johnny, import came in great. Less than 20 fish deaths total. I have a migraine. I'm going home. All right, man. Rest up. Less than 20 deaths out of the entire import. Well, that's good, because that's a big stack of boxes there. It's great. So, you guys all saw the unboxing of those guppies that we brought in, right? They were just way packed, way too many in a bag. We released that, I don't know, a few weeks ago. We talked to that supplier and we're like, okay, we can't continue to do business like this. Our entire reason for being, you know, our entire message, what we claim to do is treat fish humanely and source them humanely. So we want to do business with you, but we're going to need you to pack much less densely. And so they agreed to do that. And this is the first shipment we've got from them under that agreement, and it appears to have been very successful. So less than 20 deaths out of many, I don't know, a few thousand fish. What would it be? I don't know, 5,000 fish? I'd have to look. So that is good. It's just so obvious, right? Even if you hadn't done the testing and didn't know the science, which we do now, we've done enough of this to know and directly correlate it as, pinpoint it as the cause. Overpacking and the ammonia that results, just, it's horrible for the fish. so bad, and not just in the moment, it has lasting problems. So just that little change, packing a half the density, packing a quarter of the density. Yes, the fish are going to cost more, but 20 deaths out of however many thousands we brought in, that's good. That is awesome. That is progress. Johnny, I hope you feel better. Tracy, yes, I read that article, pencilfish, this morning. Good article. Interesting fish. Yeah, pencilfish are great. Especially the ones, like pencilfish have been great for a long time. A Beck 40, 3-line, Trileniatus, I think is what that one's called. All of them, they're awesome. But man, the Morton Thaleride, the purple pencils, and then those new ones that they're coming out with, they just keep finding better and better ones. Corey Aquatics, hey Dan, hope you're having a great week. I was wondering if these guys are good community fish. If they're aggressive and I won, would I be able to choose a more peaceful fish or no? No, the fish we're giving away is the fish we're giving away. Yeah, we don't, it's not like you can sub a new fish. If you win the giveaway for that fish, you're like, I want something else. So don't enter unless you really want those gobies. And are they peaceful with other fish? We've kept them with lots of other fish without any problems. I'm trying to think if there's ever been a problem. Not that I can remember, but I suppose if I kept them with like a long-tailed guppy or something like that, that a Lentipes or Succubus could possibly nip at those fins. I can't remember if I've ever had anything like that happen, though. But I could see that as being a possibility. So, but barring that, I don't think so. They're fairly peaceful. Now, among themselves, they'll squabble a lot and display a lot. They have a hierarchy, but lots of hides, crowd them a little bit, and they'll be fine. Just give them some space. So that just sounded like opposites. A few in a big tank, no problem, because they have space. Or more numbers in a smaller tank, that works too. Metal fish. What is your dehumidifier system called again? It's a HRV, heat retention ventilator. See if I can find it. So it's these. Ours is a Fantech, that's why I typed in Fantech. I'm not endorsing them, you use whatever brand you want, but these things do a great job. They've done awesome for us. And there's HRVs and there's, I think, ERVs. Is that right? Yeah, ERVs as well. And it depends on the climate you live in as to which one you'll want, from my understanding. I think one does better in humid climates than another. We're in a fairly dry climate here, so we tend to stick with the HRV. Now, there is something else that I'd like to bring to your attention about these. Where are they? If I can find them. Well, I want to help Gemco out because I think they're awesome. But I'm not sure where their HRVs are. Maybe air accessories? Like, that doesn't seem right. Air exchanger, that's what they're calling them. Yeah. So Gemco is an awesome company. They've been around for a long time and they've helped me for decades, build different fish rooms and things. They have a series of these that are specifically for fish rooms. So give John a call over at Gemco. I'll go ahead and link this. I'm not affiliated with them or anything like that, but I just think it's a company that has always done right by me. So they've been there for the hobby for decades, so why not shout them out? Adam's Electric Universe. Many find the hearts annoying. Get rid of them when you schedule the live stream. Too late once live. Oh, click the pencil icon, select customization, uncheck the live reaction box, and good to go. Okay, live reactions. All right, I'll try to remember that. Fish Hunter. In the upcoming months, I'll be redoing the floors of my entire house. I have 5 aquariums. Any advice on what to do the fish and aquariums? Are you saying the floors in the area that your fish and aquariums are in? If you can do anything, I would do epoxy. That's been awesome for me. If you do that, make sure you put a little bit of non-slip grit on top, because when that stuff gets wet, phew, it's like ice. You'll break a hip. But if you're asking what to do with the fish while you're getting your floors redone, I think... sorry, guys. I wish I had a mute button I could push while I cough, because that's going to happen tonight quite a bit. We'll try to warn you. I think you got to get them out of there. I'm assuming if your floors are getting redone, there's going to be a lot of dust. There's probably going to be chemicals and all that stuff. So you're probably going to have to move them somewhere else. And I don't know anything besides that. And I don't know what having your floors redone means. Are you talking about hardwood floors? For sure you're going to have to get them out. The dust and all the chemicals and stuff. I mean, I remember when we got our hardwood floors redone, I don't think there's any way fish would have lived through that. I could be wrong, but they use different varnishes and chemicals and tons of dust everywhere and all that. So, yeah, that's my thoughts, Fish Hunter. I'm no expert, but I've had some floors redone. If it's just carpet, it's probably no problem. But again, I don't know what fumes the carpet, products produce. Kyle Gibbs, my dwarf red-tailed eel I got from you a month ago is doing amazing. I couldn't be more happy. I'm glad to hear that, Kyle. I think that's pretty much what everyone's saying. I mean, maybe I'm missing something, but I can't think of anyone that got the dwarf red-tailed eels and isn't like, oh, these are amazing. I think everybody likes them, so I'm glad to hear that. I'm trying to bring more in. The breeder has more, but what did they say? I checked last week, I think, and they said they were 1.5 inches. Just a little too small. So probably around another month or so, we'll be able to get some in. Fingers crossed. Stephen P. 2003 Aquatics. I turned off the hearts for this stream. Oh, thanks. I'll show you how to do it for future streams. Really easy, but you have to manually turn it off every time to stream. Wow. Every time. So YouTube really wants it to happen. Chonsworth, hey Chonsworth, I hope you're doing well. Good to hear from you. Any idea how I can learn more about the mountain grunters? Info on the web seems very scant. It is. There's nothing on the web. I'm trying to understand any dimorphism and spawning behaviors. Chonsworth, I had the same problem. I don't know hardly anything about them. There's just not a lot of information. I suppose that searching other species of grunters is the best we can do, because there's a tiny bit of information on the mountain grunter, but very minuscule. So maybe looking at coal grunters and other things, that might give you at least some idea. Yeah, me too. I don't know much about them. We did have a customer, I should say this, a couple weeks ago, I think it was, that said that they had the grunters for quite a while, and then they ended up killing a bunch of fish in that tank. So I don't know all the details of that. We have other folks that have been keeping them for... Jeff Rapp got his from us, it's got to be a year ago. I don't know, something like, you know, he's had them for quite a while, and they've been in a community tank for a long time with no problems. So maybe it's the kind of fish they're being kept in, maybe it's the size tank, maybe it's the number of grunters in the tank. I'm not sure, but do be aware, Chonsworth, and anyone else, that it does appear that there can be some aggression there. But Aquatics saying use at Dan's Fish before your question to highlight and Dan can see it. Also narrow down your questions, what you're specifically asking. Can you talk about Amazon pufferfish? Is vague. All good notes. Yeah, see these bright orange boxes? That's what I'm looking for when I go down the chat. Ryan Fish Adventures. Still have some flagfish. Oh, asking, do I still have flagfish and any pygmy sunfish? I don't have any flagfish right now. I was amazed at how popular those were. Honestly, I've avoided bringing them in because I brought them in, has it been 6 years ago? I don't remember. And they didn't sell super fast. So I've been like, well, and they are something you can commonly get around. So I was like, yeah, maybe I'll not do those. But then people kept asking, so I was like, okay, fine. So I brought some in, didn't expect them to do very well, but the moment we released them, they were gone quickly. So I will be bringing more of those in. I don't have any more right now. And we do have some more pygmy sunfish. We've got to get them through quarantine and everything. But we should be able to list some in, if all goes well, a couple weeks. Orange cones. Happiness is unexpected fry when trimming plants. Yes. Yes, yes. A nice dopamine kick when you see that. Fish Hunter. How big will the gobies get? 1.5 inches, 2 inches, something like that. They don't get huge. Okay, I'm going to try to say it right the first time. Nabokov fan 87? Yeah, maybe. What do you feed the goby in question? My apologies for tartiness. Were you being tart? Oh, I love it. We feed ours frozen bloodworms, frozen brine shrimp, live baby brine shrimp, live scuds, and frozen and live foods. Let's put it that way. How's fish? My 12-pack of zebra loaches arrived healthy, sassy, and acclimated immediately. So excited to have them after waiting months, and my 60-gallon finally feels complete. Thank you. Hal, I'm so glad to hear it. I know you've been on the search for those. I'm glad that we were able to get them in, and I'm glad the batch came in such good shape, because I was actually thinking of you. I believe it was you that's asked occasionally over the last several months, man, why can't I find zebra loaches? Can you get any, right? And so I've been thinking about that, and I was like, I found them, and I was like, oh, I hope they come in well. And they came in, and I was like, yes! Oh, I hope they acclimate well. And they acclimated well. I was like, yes! And we shipped them. I'm like, oh, I hope they ship well. And they shipped well, and I was like, yes! Boom! So I was thrilled with them, too. I'll be bringing more in. I mean, provided they still have any. Those have been scarce for the last, for a while. Spinster Sister, how large do the blue coral platies get? My girls are huge, like bluefin tuna huge. At least 5x larger than the boys. Yeah, I mean, girls of like swordtails and platies and different Xiphophorus do get bigger. They got to carry the babies, so yes, they can get quite large. Full grown Maculatus platy. What would you say? Like a monster 2.5 inches? Let's see. What does the internet say? Size. Let's see here. I'm gonna guess that an absolute monster would be. Here it says, seriously, Fish says the females can get up to 3 inches. I don't know if I've ever seen that. But, you know, I do listen to Seriously Fish. Let's see here, 2 inches, yeah. 2.5 inches, yeah, so apparently 2.5 to 3 inches, something like that. I think the biggest one I've ever seen in person is probably a 2-incher, maybe a little bigger. I mean, how big are yours? Can you get a ruler and like give it a look-see? What is that coordinate? North 4279? Can I keep an Amazon pufferfish in a 10-gallon? I wouldn't do that. I never tell people how to keep fish. What I try to do is talk about general principles, and however they want to incorporate those principles. As long as those principles are fulfilled, then the fish should be okay. With Amazon pufferfish, they're a strong swimmer. They come from the Amazon River, and usually when we talk about fish that come from the Amazon, we're talking about these little tributaries around the Amazon. We're not really talking about the main river channel, because the main river channel has some big nasty predators in it. And a lot of our tiny little colorful aquarium fish aren't going to do well in that main channel. Some are there, but Amazon puffers, they're in the main channel. They're strong swimmers. They cruise around, they swim lots of distances. And so a 10-gallon, I feel like, even though that fish doesn't get huge, I don't think that's enough space for it, just because of that behavior. Now, that being said, I have seen, I think it was a green spotted puffer that was in, was it a 10-gallon? It might have been a 20-gallon. And that thing had been in there for a long, long time and was doing great, like years and years, and was doing really well. So, you know, you can see lots of things working, but in general, Amazon puffers like to cruise around. They don't get huge, but they get a decent size, and they're a chunky fish, and they're gregarious. They like to be in big groups. So personally, it makes me a little sad when I see an Amazon puffer by itself. It'll probably be okay. Like, I don't know if they necessarily really suffer when they're by themselves, but in nature, they're in big aggregations, large numbers. So just something to keep in mind. So you, ideally, in an ideal world, space to swim and explore and space for several would be the ideal habitat for those. Now, I do think that a single Amazon puffer is fine. I've kept them singly, and I haven't noticed, like, there are some fish that have to be in groups together, and when they're not, you notice distress. I don't think I've seen that in Amazon puffers. Sean Lancaster, I've been daydreaming about my next tank, thinking about Mabuna or a rainbow fish tank. Trying to decide tank size, either 40 breeder, 55 gallons, 60 breeder, 75. Any thoughts or suggestions? My thought is larger tanks are easier to maintain and they give you more options. So up to you, but the 60 breeder or 75 gallon is a great tank. The 75 has that nice large viewing pane. If you want to keep some plants, you can grow some size on those plants. Both the 75, the 40, and the 60, 40 breeder and 60, have 18 inches front to back, so you have some depth of field, so you can do some, more options for your scaping and such. 55 gallons, great, but it's only 12 inches front to back, if I remember right. And that's not a lot of space to do like depth perception type stuff if you're scaping the tank and you want it to look at all natural. So it depends a little bit on what your goals are, but if I was to pick between those, I'd go with the 75 just because more volume, easier to maintain, and more options for later. You can always put small fish in bigger tanks, but there comes a point where you can't put big fish in smaller tanks anymore. Or a number of fish, you know. You always put more fish in a bigger tank, but as you go smaller, there's always curtailing what you can do. Chonsworth, if you could design or create the ultimate Goby tank, what would it look like? The ultimate Goby tank, it would be like, I'd probably have a, so if we're talking riverine gobies, I'd probably do a river manifold, and I would have a lot of rock work, like stacked all around, probably an open space in the middle with, and then gravel on the bottom. I don't think I'd put any plants or anything in there. And I'd probably put a piece of wood in there just for some variety. Especially there's stiphodons and stuff in there. They like to chew on that biofilm that grows on the wood. But if you're like the ultimate river manifold, yeah, like a hill stream, like one of those river manifold hill stream loach tanks is what I would do. And I'd probably have parts of the rocks, like, you know, river rock, chunky river rocks. They were stacked up pretty high on one side, and then kind of came around and lower on the other side with a gravel area in the middle. And I'd probably put one rock in that kind of clear area because there's going to be a lot of king of the mountain displaying going back and forth on that rock. Lots of bright lights. You want to grow tons of algae in biofilm, so I'd have bright light on it. And the other thing I would do for the ultimate Goby tank is have a second tank where I had rocks and I just grew algae on the rocks. Like I grew algae and stuff on those rocks, put them in, take ones that have been scraped out, and keep rotating them in. I think that would be the ultimate. Rose Valley Guppies. All 5 longfin bronze cories arrived in great condition, enjoying the few I already had. The 9 of them all together are so pretty, and I'm looking forward to watching them grow. I'm glad, Rose Valley Guppies, to hear that they arrived in good shape. Thanks for letting me know. And yeah, with cories, the more the merrier. If you went from 4 to 9, you're going to see a lot more interesting behavior. And if you go from 9 to 20, you're going to see even more interesting behavior. Like, cories are amazing in large groups, so good on you for getting more so they have a nice, comfortable, big group. That is one fish where, unlike the Amazon puffer, a single cory by itself, that's an unhappy fish. Happy or fish happy, that's a fish that doesn't quite feel complete. Let's put it that way. Alex. I've had 6 viewers buy those eels, and all of them were doing amazingly. Each person went out of their way to mention it to me. Yeah, yep, but I think that's what's going around. Wish I had more. But I think more are coming. And still, I don't think any of them have grown over the 7 inches or so that we think they're going to grow to. So I do think they are going to stay within what I consider like the kind of dwarf species. We don't know exactly what we are, but we're pretty confident they're not going to turn into like a massive fire eel or anything like that. I think they're going to max out 7 inches. Okay, Nathan, Corey from the Co-op, did a video talking about, flipped in my head. Let's start again, shall we? Corey from Aquarium Co-op did a video talking about what he did when he serviced tanks. I recall he would use carbon-infused mats to wrap filter intakes in. I believe he mentioned it in his last vid. Let's see. Yeah, there was a long time ago when he did. He used to talk about that more, but he hasn't talked about it in a while. So his last vid he did. All right. Nathan, was that answering? Is there a question I had about that or something? Or were you just sharing that? Anyway, good to hear from you, Nathan. Oh, here it is. My last comment was about what to do when redoing floors. Oh, thank you. Okay, so Corey tried to use carbon-infused mats to filter out any chemicals. Okay, I guess you could try that. I mean, I think there's some risk to that, but it's a better, if you can't move them out, that's probably a good suggestion. Thanks, Nathan. That makes more sense now. First, I was like, what are we talking about? But you clarified. Thank you for doing that. Okay, I'm scrolling because chat jumped. There we are. And we're landing on Razzle Dazzle. Humble question. Can I keep 2 breeding pairs of the following fish in a 75-gallon tank? 1 Opisto pair and 1 Crebensis pair. Have other fish occupants, but none of the lower level. In a 75, assuming there's plenty of rock work and stuff, and there's kind of space for different territories, probably. I would keep an eye on them. But yeah, I bet you could keep a pair of Opistos and a pair of Crebensis. Ideally, you'd have it divided up into like territories so they can choose territories away from each other. And then I think that would, you know, be a little insurance policy on that working. But yeah, I could see that working. I generally try to stay away from keeping species that can be aggressive. Now, Apistos and Crims, not super aggressive, but during spawning, any cichlid can become aggressive. I try to keep competition out of that niche with different species, but can it be done? I think it could be, Razzle Dazzle. I don't think it's guaranteed, but I think there's a good chance. Procedural, I said that wrong. Procedural nodes 3D. Woo! The 5 remaining Congo tetras are doing very well despite having to spend the past weekend in a 10-gallon when the 40 they shared with 3 Apistos and 6 Cories leaked. They're back home. Glad to hear they survived the the event. Oh, when a tank leaks, ain't nothing more fun than that, is there? Mopping up carpet, getting fans to stick under your rug, and wet vacuum everything. Yeah, I've been there. Nick Rector, are you going to get more of the green leaf shrimp in again? Yes. I hope to have some available. I hope to bring some in September and have some available probably in October. But I can't guarantee that's going to happen. But that's what I hope will happen. There's only one place I know of to get those shrimp. And I'm hoping to bring another import in from them in September. Several things have to line up for that to happen, though. So, Hoved Aquatics. What can you tell me about Cribo Heroes Longimanus? I got a pair that were sold to me as Viejas. Oh, you're talking about big Central American cichlids? Not much. Let's take a look-see here, folks. Field trip. Well, I always look at these big kind of Central American, Caribbean island type cichlids and think, man, that's a pretty fish that I'm probably never going to keep. I don't know anything about them. Yeah, I can't help you, Hoved Aquatics. Sorry. That's a group of fish, those kind of larger Central American cichlids that I've just... Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. How long have I been there? Sorry, folks. That I don't have much experience with, so I can't help you. If there's someone, though, in chat that knows about that fish, would you mind chiming in so we can help Hoved Aquatics out? Because I don't have the expertise with that group of fish. Hull Soul Tarot. Are there any checkerboard cichlids in your future? Yeah, we have a group right now. Did we sell out? Let's look. Oh, yeah, it looks like we just sold out. But these guys are so cool. I literally took that picture last week. I believe it was last week. Look at these cute little guys. It's nice long filaments on the tail. Looks like we're sold out. So, yes, I'm going to try to bring more in. I won't get them from the supplier I got the last batch from. So I have to see if I can find another supplier that maybe has some available. It took us literally months to get that fish fit and healthy and ready to sell. So, looking for another supplier. But yeah, that's one that I would like to always have in. I love checkerboard cichlids. Snoochie Booch. Hey, Snoochie, I hope you're doing well. It was great to meet you the other day. You're even kinder in person. Oh, thanks. Thanks so much for taking the time the other day. Great to meet all of you. Hey, thanks for making the trip and bringing us some amazing hobbyist bred fish. We love that. Yeah, thanks for making the trip. It's good to meet you too, man. Fishtory, Alex. Oh, just saying he loves me. All right, love you too, Alex. Robert Whittaker. Do you recommend acclimating shrimp or fish when we receive them from you? Robert, I'm going to refer you to the last live stream and the rant I did on that for the first, I don't know, if you watch the first 15 minutes of that or so, I went on a whole thing about that. Was it the last live stream or the one before? I think it was the last live stream. But in short, if you're experienced about acclimating fish and you know how to set up an acclimation tank or a hospital tank without having parameter shifts that will harm your fish, or if your quarantine tank is a nice bioactive system that's well established and has a very stable nitrophine system and isn't going to have its parameters shift when you put the fish in it that you're quarantining, then yes. If you're new to quarantining, if you don't have a tank that's nice and established to put them in and you're new to quarantining, then I would say no. So the issue is I always think it's good to quarantine unless you're inexperienced and don't have a setup for it that's stable, in which case you're probably going to do more harm than good. So that's kind of my thoughts. The real question under that question is, or the real issue that that question is addressing is this: our fish can carry illnesses, and those illnesses can be transferred to your fish in your aquarium. That's always a possibility. So that's the reality. We do everything we can to minimize that possibility, but it's still there. That's just the reality of different populations of living organisms being mixed together. There's no way around that. So there's always that risk. The question is your experience as a fish keeper sufficient that your quarantining procedures are less of a risk to the fish or not? I guess that's what it comes down to. Nathan, I'm at that point in my hobby now. Small fish in bigger tanks. Yep. That's what I like too. Moved on from African cichlids and other similar cichlids to tetras, endlers, and so on. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, and so are African cichlids and Central American cichlids. Like that fish I can't comment on. Free Heroes. I might have to end this a little early. I don't know if my pipes are gonna stand up to much more talking here. If I had to stream yesterday, I couldn't have done it. I was like coughing every couple minutes. Yeah, the reason I couldn't comment on those Cribbo Heroes isn't because I don't think they're cool fish and wouldn't be fun to keep. It's just I don't have experience with them. I haven't been to that phase of the hobby yet. You know, big Central American cichlids. It's not something I've delved into yet. But at some point, that's gonna draw my attention, I'm sure. But I'm with you, Nathan. At this point, lots of small fish in a larger tank is where it's at for me. That could change tomorrow, but today and for the last couple of years, that's where it's been. Kind all night. Hey, good to hear from you. I hope you're doing well. Been a minute. You think Apistogramma will get along with my pygmy cories or Borneo hillstream loaches? Definitely get along with the hillstream loaches and probably get along with the pygmy cories too. The only caveat there is there's a few Apisto species that get, what's the biggest one? 4 inches? I think that's right. There's that one Apisto species that gets pretty big. But even like a big full-grown 3-inch male, I don't know, what would it be, cockatoides or something, has a pretty big mouth. And if your pygmy cories are small, then there's a possibility that a big full-grown Apisto could try to eat a small little pygmy cory. Now, if your pygmy cories are full-grown, I don't think you'll have that problem. I think they're bulky enough that you'll be fine. So in general, I'm going to say yes, that I think that pygmy cories and Apistos get along famously, with that one caveat. Size, you know, as long as they're appropriately sized together. Scrolling because chat jumped. Okay, here we go. Tony Adams. Hi, Dan. I'm curious if you have any sumps, and if so, do you use a refugium? I don't have any sumps now, but in my old facility, I ran every row in my basement on a sump. Sorry, I got a little confused. I used sump pumps. I didn't use sumps. I've never used a lot of sumps in my home aquariums. I've used them in some stores that I worked at. I have nothing against them. I think they're amazing, but I don't have a lot of experience with them myself or with refugiums. I like the idea. I understand them. I know how they work. But it's been years since I've used a proper sump. Now, just because I don't use them doesn't mean they're not amazing. Like they have their purpose for sure. But I've always found it a lot easier to like drop a sponge filter in a tank. Remember though, my focus has always been on like breeding fish. That's my background. So sponge filters are great because the fry can't get sucked in them. You can move them around easily. There's all these benefits to a breeding room to have that versus a sump. If I had a really nice display tank, a sump might be the way to go. Trenton Felkins. Do you know of any ideal temp for breeding gold laser cories? I've had 2 spawns now, but 0 fertile eggs. Just wondering if there are any tips. That's a species I have never bred and raised myself. So Trenton, man, I'm striking out a lot on people. I can't remember the last time I had 3 strikes. I've never bred and raised the gold laser cories, but what I will say is, from talking with folks who have bred them, large water change with cool water maybe lowers the temp in the tank pretty quickly by 5 to 8 degrees, something like that. That's a trigger. That can help get them to spawn. Oh, never mind. Your question isn't that. You're having spawns, you're not having fertile eggs. Okay, so are the eggs, like, say they spawn in after 4 or 5 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, are the eggs still okay, or have they turned white that quickly? Because if the eggs are still okay, it might not be that they're infertile. It might be that they're getting attacked by bacteria or fungus or something like that, in which case I think using some methylene blue or some peroxide or something to help kill the bacteria in the water that they're being incubated in could be helpful. So the first question is, are they actually infertile? If they are, softening the water might help with that. I don't know what your parameters are like. If you have really hard water and the eggs are not fertilized, then maybe softening the water to help. Are you sure you have males? Have you seen them tee up? Because female cories will sometimes just lay eggs even though there's no male. Or are they fertile and just dying later because they're succumbing to fungus or bacteria or something? So that's my basic response, Trenton. Oh yeah, I know Johnny's been breeding them. He's bred them from 62 degrees up to 86, yeah. Wide range. Okay, Brody's Bettas, do you know what age my Sogestedi Loe will start breeding? They're about 4 months old now, thanks. By 4 months, I would expect they're breeding. 1.5 to 2 inches. As soon as those males are kind of coloring out, they'll probably start breeding in fairly short order. 4 months is plenty of time. Maybe. Here's the thing. Fish become sexually mature more at a size point than an age point. So if you take some Sogestedi, for those that don't know, that's the blue galaris, that's this fish. Look at that! Oh, I miss them. I miss them. Oh, this is a fish I used to keep and breed all the time. Haven't had them in quite a while. They get like 5 inches. They're gorgeous. Just, oh, look at that picture. Oh my gosh, I miss that fish. In the specific location, this one has an interesting tail color. Instead of having the orange here on the bottom, let's find a better picture that shows it more clearly. The orange here, the Loe has like this bluish turquoise kind of color down on the tail. Really, really beautiful fish. One of the fish I love the most and I miss very much. But what was the question now? Yeah, so if they're only fed, every other day a little bit or something, they're growing really slowly, then 4 months, they might not be mature. They're probably not healthy either. If they're fed well, then they're probably spawning within 2 to 3 months. So that's a fish that matures pretty darn quickly. So that's my thoughts, Brody's Bet, is if they're 4 months and have been raised properly, I think they're breeding for sure. Alex Gonzalez, don't know if I'm doing that right. How would you set up? Oh, you did. I see it. Good job. Look at that, Alex. You did it. Bright orange right there. Good job. How would you set up a tank for breeding emerald lampi killifish? Which one's that? Is that what's a thalamus? Emerald lampi, or is that Norman? Emerald green? I think we're talking about Luxothalamus. Okay, if we are, Poropanchax, Luxothalamus is another fish I love. Images. These guys are awesome. Oh, look there. There's a picture of one of ours. What I love about them, small little, everything we love about the Normani is there in size and temperament and stuff. But these get this bright neon green. Oh, they're so pretty. Beautiful little fish. And I would use some spawning mops. And I'd probably put rubber bands down the mop every inch or so there's crevices. And they'll go in and kind of inject their eggs in those little crevices. And then you pull the mop out, take off the rubber bands, and you'll probably have eggs in there. Feed them well. Have some mops in there, and I bet they'll breed. That's a fish that lays frequently. Now, smallish eggs, big for the size of the fish, but smallish. And are going to do best with live foods when they first hatch out. Killifish, when they first hatch, eat almost immediately, within a few hours. They're not like a lot of fish that hatch and they have the yolk sac attached and they're wriggling around and they're still developing and stuff, and they finally become free swimming a few days later. Killifish hatch, they're free swimming right away. They're eating within a few hours. So have some food on hand. Or Alex, another way to do it, the easiest way, is to get a tank, put some gravel in it, put some dense plants in like half of it, maybe a sponge filter on one side, put the adults in there, leave them for a few weeks, take them out, and just wait for the fry to appear. So that's another way to do it. Andrew Wang, any plans for more zebra autos soon? I got 3 from the last batch and they are solid. Yes, I do plan on ordering more fish from that supplier. It's going to be a few weeks before I have the option to do that. And depending on what they have available for sale, I can place an order. They don't always have zebra autos available, but if they do, I'll bring more in. And Johnny, if you're watching, let's look tomorrow and see if there's any more zebras at all that we could list. Andrew, if there are any zebras available, if we find any more in our tanks, then we'll list those tomorrow. And so you know when that happens, we have this little doodad on our site. So if you go here, let's say you want checkerboard cichlids, but we're out. Or let's go with zebra autos. Okay, zebra autos are the fish you want. We're out. If you click this button, add to your wish list, then the moment those come back in stock, you'll get an email from us saying, hey, these are back in stock, and you'll know. I'm going to take it off my wish list, but that's how you do it. You just click that green button. It's as easy as that. Oh, I should say, in order to do that, you have to have an account set up, because if you don't, we don't have your email. But as long as you've got an account set up with us, you'll get that email. And yeah, that was a good solid batch of zebra autos. Very few problems with those. And I'm excited because now we know even better how to take care of the autos, since even in the last few weeks, we've figured some new things out. So I can't wait for the next batch of giant autos and zebra autos and stuff, because I think just tweaking a couple things is going to make them even more hardy and even better. Especially the giant autos. That's still one we're figuring out, but I think I know what to do, and I'll try it on the next batch and see if it is as effective as I think it's going to be. Alex again. Alex, man, I hope you're doing well. Good to hear from you. And I've been following your Facebook adventures. Those big old plants you took out of your aquariums with the massive root structure. That was impressive. Impressive roots. Any plans of bringing Danio tinwini? Oh, yes. I love those. Or like inlay Danios, or possibly some of the lesser known baddest species. Yeah, I haven't found tinwini in a long time. That's a fish that the moment I see it available, I'll bring it in. I used to have a supplier of those and some other things, but that supplier, I mean, tinwini is something I used to, until a couple of years ago, I used to have in very frequently. I love that fish, and it sells well. But the supplier never adjusted their practices and wasn't treating the fish how we think fish deserve to be treated. And so we just decided not to get anything from that supplier anymore. So I have other suppliers, but none of them had that fish available regularly. So yeah, I'll bring it in, but I got to find it first. Same with baddest species. Whenever I find interesting baddest, I always bring them in, but it's not something, even baddest is difficult to get in. It's on the lists, but you order it and you order it and you order it. Johnny, how long have I been trying to get baddest in? I think in the last 5 years, I've been able to get them in twice. So I keep trying. I have been neglecting the super chats. I didn't even remember to look at that. Spinster Sister throwing down $13 for excellent customer service. $3 for the SC fee. Oh, thank you. Excellent customer service equals Johnny. It does. He does an excellent job. Thank you, Spinster Sister. That's going to make his day, especially since he's got a migraine. So that's awesome. Aquaria Life joining up. Welcome to the Fishmonger crew. Good to hear from you, Stephanie. I hope you're doing awesome. Kelly Dehumanization. I wanted to say Kelly dehumidification. That's what's on my mind in live stream chat. Dehumanization. Throwing down $2. Thank you so much. Don't dehumanize me too much. No, thanks for the super chat. Always appreciated. Never required, but every little bit counts. Razzle Dazzle joined up. Thanks, Razzle Dazzle. Thanks for becoming a part of the Fishmonger crew. And Rye Guy Outdoors, who has been a member for 3 months, says, love fish 100%. Thanks. Thanks so much. Ooh, look at that. Look at that there time. It is 8:23. It's time to do the giveaway. So this giveaway is for some gobies, probably Lentipes, maybe some Sicyopus, maybe a mix of both. Neat little gobies though. 180 folks have entered, and the winner is Geek Boy. Hey, Charlie. Geek Boy, you have won some gobies. Yeah, I think those gobies would be an awesome addition to some of your tanks. I know Geek Boy's setup, so I'm just thinking, I'm thinking through his tanks, and I'm like, yeah, they would do fine in those. Do just fine. So Geek Boy, rules is rules. You've got 2 minutes to chime in and let us know you're here. I'm hoping you do, because... Oh, there he is. Can you send them to Fishery? Oh, yeah, I'll send them to Alex for sure. All right. Geek Boy has won, but has sent them to Alex. So, Alex, would you send us an email? I know we already have your info, but just to make it easy on us, would you mind sending us an email with your first and last name and your mailing address so we don't have to go search for it and everything? And then we'll get a shipping date for you and get those sent off. Well, congrats, Geek Boy, and congrats to Fishery Alex. All right, with that, I think we're going to shut this thing down. I want to thank my moderators for being here and doing what they do. Appreciate you so much. Want to thank the members for being a part of the Fishmonger crew. I keep thinking like that's a weak name, the Fishmonger crew. Works. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll come up with something better someday, but probably not. This time of night, my creative juices are just like gone. Anyway, thanks to the members of the Fishmonger crew. Thanks to everybody who threw money at us in the form of super chats. Thanks to folks who were lively in the chat and gave us something to talk about. Appreciate that. If you weren't lively in the chat and you're lurking, much respect. Hail the Lurker Nation. If you were watching on the replay, hello from the past. Thanks, Kelly Foreman. Hope you feel better soon as I cough. Appreciate the super chat, and I'm already feeling a lot better. Where was I? Oh yeah, if you're watching the replay, hello from the past. If you're listening on the podcast, thanks for listening. And until next time, we'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Hope you have a good one. Bye, everybody.